Good morning, good morning. Thank you for joining me again today as we embark on episode 14. Never thought this far ahead when we started this project back, I think, in springtime, and we're going through episode 14. Today, we're going to talk about the funeral experience, a little bit about the business of funeral service. Yeah, you know what we see as we do what we do in the street, but it's a business. It's truly a business. And we want you to realize what goes on and why certain things have to be the way that they are. We have a lot of laws that we must follow, and also a lot of regulatory agencies that we must answer to. One of the biggest, Federal Trade Commission. They have a whole section just on funeral homes, the funeral service group. I'll explain that to you one day if you'd like to hear. But it's all about transparency and wanting to not get over on the consumer, knowing that when you call us, you're in a time of grieving, and some unscrupulous people will take advantage of your grief and your grieving situation. So to make sure funeral homes don't do that, we have some laws and rules that we must follow. Each one of our states has a state board. We must uphold those regulations as well. We have OSHA. Yeah, OSHA is no joke. We have to keep a lot of records. Even honestly, any employee that works with us is required we maintain their medical record for 30 years once they leave. Because we work with formaldehyde and a few other carcinogenic chemicals, we want to make sure that no one is exposed to it. So we're going to get a little bit into things like that today. And in this episode, we're also going to talk about what makes funeral homes a little bit different. Because you see one almost on every corner, depending upon the city that you go to. Why choose one over the other? Something to think about. But thank you for joining me today. If you want to leave a message in the chat or in the comments, know I always will come back to answer those. But we just want to invoke some thought and create some engagement out here today. You know, we always start with a few videos that show you something different. Today's the same. Now, just watch this. And boom, yes, the pallbearer just fell as placing the casket on the lowering device. Do things like that happen often? No, they don't. But you must watch your footing when going to a cemetery. It's not on stable ground. There are boards that are set up to hold the lowering device, and things like that do happen. If you looked at that casket closely, it appeared to be a little wider than normal, meaning it was probably an oversized. The footing, the gripping, things happen. And you did not see anyone rush over there to see if that gentleman was okay either, did you? Human nature, things that you see. Now, this second video is a little bit different. This young man, I follow him a lot. He's out of Louisiana, works for a gentleman that I know kind of well. But he does some different things. And check this out.
This video is just a response to the funeral service etiquette video that I did on yesterday.
I hope you can hear.
I have reviewed the comments, and I see that there are quite a few people that are mad and upset with me because I told them my preferences on how I think funerals should run. Well, let's discuss three of the topics that I chose to discuss. First topic is obituaries. Everybody was mad because they felt entitled to have an obituary before the family got there. If the family paid for the obituary, they will be the first ones to lay hands on those obituaries. Giving somebody a program before the family gets there is just like me opening a casket, letting you view their loved one before they even came to the funeral home to do that. Out of courtesy and respect is why I guard the programs. So if you ever see me at a funeral, you will not receive a program until the family gets there. I'm done with that. Second, a lot of people were mad and upset, and they said that I was judging because they desire to, you know, burn those bushes before they came to funerals. I don't have a problem with you doing that before you come to the funeral. It becomes a problem when the smell starts lingering through the sanctuary, and it also becomes a problem when I walk outside and I see you doing that on God's ground. There's a time and a place for everything. I don't care what you do, but there's a time and a place for everything. So I hope that clears that up. Number 3, folks were also mad because I told them not to take pictures of the deceased. If the family told you not to take pictures of the deceased, I don't see why you do it anyway. But if the family has told you not to take pictures of the deceased, respect their wishes. We don't have any respect anymore. And it's mainly this new generation. They don't have nobody to teach them right, so they're lost. And when somebody tries to correct them, they get mad, just like they done yesterday. So it's all about.
Amen, my brother, is all I'm going to say. There's some things that just make no sense. People wanting obituaries, we have to respect the family. We don't know sometimes how large the family is. Sometimes more people can be coming from the house than we anticipated. So if we give all of the programs out and the family doesn't get any, come on. Come on now. Let's just be considerate, as the young man said, respect. Taking pictures of the deceased, that's kind of disrespectful all day long. Why would you want to put a picture of someone else's loved one on your social media? Let's just keep it real. Let's be a little bit more respectful and thoughtful when we do things. One more thing, and this one's kind of funny here to me. And I don't want to get my channel tagged for the music, but I'm going to let you hear a little bit. Okay. We've all seen crowning ceremonies and things of that sort. But, come on. Are we taking it a little bit far here right now? I have no opinions. As you know, I just watch. But this is a crowning ceremony to never forget. I tell you that. And as you see, it did make social media and it was trending. It's that different. No opinion, no opinion. How long is this taking? Okay. Interesting. That's funeral service in America. Yeah, funeral service. So, today we're going to talk about behind the business of compassion and care. We're going to talk about a little bit about the reality of funeral service. Why does this conversation matter? Because everyone needs to know that there's a balance between compassion and business in funeral service. As you know, I came out of school over 30 years ago. We were taught that funeral service is a business. It's an allied health profession. That's what we're degreed in. And a lot of people now I hear say it's a ministry. No, a business is not a ministry. A ministry tends to be a non-for-profit, 501c3. It doesn't work on financial stability. The purpose is totally different. Most ministries, the purpose is faith-based or some community-based mission. Funeral service mission is truly business. If you don't believe me, ask the IRS. I don't know of any funeral home that is set up as a 501c3. If I'm wrong, I would love to have someone tell me so that I can be more knowledgeable. Today, I want you to understand the unique challenges and innovations in this industry as well, because as I said, it's not like any other. And we're going to dispel the myths about funeral homes being a ministry. It is not a ministry. It is a business. I can't make that any clearer. We must have a vision. Every day we go to work, we must see where we want our business to go. We have to think about marketing. How do we get our name out there so that people think of us first? What type of strategies do we use to try to engage with more people? How do we create leadership within our own team? Because we as owners, we can't do everything. We all need help. So this is business. It's not ministry. A lot of people think funeral home and church are closely related because we work with churches a lot. Most of our buildings do have a chapel, which acts as a room of religious activity or celebration. But we are not churches by no means. We don't operate like them. We don't think like they do. But I'm going to tell you something funny. In the last, I'm going to say 20 years, a lot of families are closer to their funeral directors than they are their minister, because they haven't been going to church for so long, but yet they interact with the funeral director in such an emotional and sensitive time that they're really closer to us and will talk to us about things that they won't mention to other people. Some of the business of funeral service: managing operations, staffing, facilities. We have overhead costs. When we say operations, I'm going to say broad category, daily operations. What does that consist of? Okay, what do we do every day? We make removals, meaning pick up remains. That has to be coordinated. We have to have people that are trained. They should have their bloodborne pathogen training as well as their hepatitis B vaccinations, and we must track all of that. We have facilities. These buildings that we have do not stay operational and running without problems, without needing to be cleaned, without needing to be maintenance. Things break down. We have to take care of that. And we have to do it before the public comes in to see it. We have exorbitant overhead costs. People don't even think about what does it cost the funeral home to be there. All they want to say is, you're too expensive. Okay, we're too expensive. Do you know how much a case of embalming fluid costs? Well, do you really care? No, I know you don't. But to let you know, everything that we use to do the job for you costs us money. Therefore, that cost has to be put into what our prices are. So we have to find that balance as to what can the customer afford, but yet we still stay profitable and stay in business. So the business edge always comes first, because if we can't maintain the operating budget and keep the bills paid, how will we be able to give you service? Funeral service is just what it says. We sell service. We don't really make money from merchandise. Back in the day, most funeral directors, when I started, would mark a casket up, say, 3 times. So if it cost them $500, they're going to sell it for $1,500. That's almost like an old Jewish concept. When you are in business, you have to buy something to sell. You then sell it, and you then must replace it. So when I was a little boy, I heard a lot of the Jewish business owners say everything had a 3 times markup on it. So the old funeral directors translated that on into funeral service. But today, I'm going to be honest with you, wholesale price on merchandise is so high, if I tripled it, you couldn't afford it. Just keeping it real with you. People don't realize the cost of what funeral service products are. And it's because they're specialized. They can only be used in this industry, so they charge us pretty much whatever the most they can to make it happen. But in the midst of that, we balance compassion with that financial stability, because we're trained to know that until we can connect with you and make you feel comfortable in such a way, you're not going to call any funeral home. So we have to balance compassion with financial sustainability, and in that happy median is where we get value. Another thing, why this work is a professional service and not just a calling, because Because number one, you have to be licensed. Now, the state of Virginia has broken the license down into two separate licenses. You have a funeral director's license that you can now get, an embalmer's license, or a funeral service licensee. When I came through school, there was only one license, the funeral service licensee. Through the past 30 years, what has happened? I'm going to say human intellect and desire is not what it was. Students found it very complicated to pass both parts of the test. So the lobbyists for your major corporations, SCI, your dignities, could not get enough employees, so they lobbied our state delegates to lessen the requirements. Part of the logic was cremation has grown so much we don't do that much embalming. We don't have the need for embalmers and won't need them as readily in the next 20 years. So they did that. And we now have a whole generation of young licensees with only a funeral director's license and have no clue about what to do with the deceased body. Now, how do I feel about that? Truthfully, I feel it's asinine. How could you have a profession that deals with death, but then you make the law that they don't have to learn about the deceased? Would you want your doctor to not have any training and examination? He can only read a diagnosis. I mean, funeral profession is just, some things are backwards to me from my perspective. But you have to have a license. And because you have to have that license, that means, yes, it is a profession. And again, Brother Dwayne Jones, thank you for coming on the live with me today. Always going to be here, my friend. Thank you for following every week when I come on. But I feel as though we have to educate, we have to teach, because I'm tired of my people best being unknowledgeable about truth. And if I can give them some truth and they can grow from it, hey, I'm grateful. We can't stop people from being stupid. If you just want to listen to foolishness and follow foolishness, that's on you. You stay foolish. But anyone that's trying to learn and go to the next level, come on to me. I'm here to teach you. Something else about funeral service, a lot of people getting into it don't understand the complexities. All they see are hearses going down the street with a casket and a shirt and tie on. They don't see the hard work it takes behind the scenes to make that happen. See, that's just the show. The work has already taken place by the time we put the suit on. To pick that remains up in a state that almost looks unviewable, to having that body beautiful in a casket, that takes work, that takes skill, that takes knowledge. That's funeral service. You could almost train a monkey to work a funeral. To work a funeral is so simple. If you'd like to know that one day, I'll do an episode on what does it take to be an attendant to just work the funeral. Hey, if anybody wants to learn how to do that, give me a call, give me an email. I mean, because we're looking for people that can help. After COVID, people got so lazy, nobody wants to work anymore, just keeping it real. Funeral service. It's really selling an experience, not just a service. Because we deal with a family in such an emotional state, their senses are more open to what's going on. That's why it has to be very important to have a comforting environment which can create that memorable experience. It's more than just a building. As Luther Vandross said back in the day, a house is not a home. A building is not necessarily a business. Just because you got some bricks, you may not have the people inside that domicile to make it feel welcoming, to make it feel comforting, because at the end of the day, people come where they're comforted. Just something to think about. Think about why you make the choices that you make as a consumer. You tend to go in a direction where things flow the way you think, they flow the way you flow, and it feels like a perfect fit. People don't like confusion. People don't like situations that put them under more stress. They want the stress taken away. So it's all about the experience that you're offering them. It's also about personalization. People don't want to come to something that's cookie cutter. They want to know that they can make it their way, unique to their styles and what they want it to be. So we embrace that as well. How do we do it? Video tributes. The type of service, the way the service runs, it doesn't have to flow in a traditional format the way it did when Grandma died. No, we can change it up now. We can make it reflective of that person that we're honoring. When you give this type of experience of connection, that you're there with that family, it evokes closure. It brings a greater sense of hope and comfort to that grieving family. Just keeping it real, we sell an experience. All of us have buildings, no matter the size, no matter the location. We all have cars. I mean, a hearse is a hearse, a limousine is a limousine. I'm going to tell you something about those as well. Any hearse, well, I'm going to talk about mine. I'm not going to talk about anybody else's. The hearse and limousine that I rode, I'm going to tell you what they cost. They start at about $150,000 a piece. Okay? That's what they cost. One of those cars will finance it for 4 years, 5 years, whatever. Pay $1,200, $1,300 a month. A hearse and a limousine are vehicles that do not run every day. Hear what I say? They do not run every day. Every family that you serve does not use a hearse to take their loved one down the street to a cemetery. We do a lot of direct cremation. No hearses involved at all. We'll use a removal vehicle, but not necessarily our masterpiece hearse. Limousines, they don't run every day either. We'll have funerals with the hearse and the family says, Mr. Fisher, we'll drive our own vehicles. We have a brand new such and such, or brand new this and that. We understand. See, back in the day when I started, a lot of people did not have the luxury of having nice cars to transport their families. So it was imperative that the funeral home be the provider of transportation for that day. Not the same anymore. We have people that have great jobs. They have top-of-the-line vehicles. They have anything that money can buy will pull up at your funeral. So what are you putting all your money into the vehicle when you could look at your business and from another strategic point of view and provide another type of service? Just a different way of thinking, how I tend to think. We also have some innovations in the funeral industry. It's not what it used to be. It's not a cookie cutter approach. It's not big in Virginia yet, but people are going towards green burials and other practices which are more sustainable. Alkaline hydrolysis, water cremation as some call it. It's not in Virginia yet, but it is in North Carolina and some other states. But the actual funeral, embalming, and burial, it is hard on the earth. You're putting a piece of metal in the ground that may take 100 years for it to rot. The chemicals from embalming as the body breaks down does get into the tap water. Speaking of water, I come from Virginia. If anybody's been watching Virginia, Central Virginia, Richmond, I got a serious water problem, almost like Flint, Michigan had. We may need to think about some alternatives here in Virginia for this water before it gets more commonplace. Now we're doing virtual services, live streaming for remote attendees, things that you must do now if you want to be relevant in the industry because it has changed. Funeral service is also about interactive memorials and digital arrangements. Why are we doing these things? Because the consumer has changed, the customer has changed, and the business has changed. The walking in the door brick and mortar type of business is not what it used to be. People are wanting to do more things at home on their own. They don't want someone sitting in their face as they make decisions. So the industry's changing, meaning the way we do business has had to change as well. Compassionate customer service, empathy at the core. If you've never experienced customer service in a funeral home is different than anything you've ever experienced. It's not a call center, even though your phone rings like it a lot of times. But when you get a call and a customer has a question guidance and advice, it all stems from empathy. Having to understand this person and where they are at this moment. They just had someone die. You don't know what emotion they're feeling. You don't know where their mindset is, and probably racing 200 miles an hour. So one of the main things we have to train any staff member that's going to be here to answer a phone or to answer a question is, we have to know how to provide emotional support. And the biggest part of that is to be an active listener. We've learned to listen to what the client, the customer, the person in front of us is asking. Not assuming, but to clarify, what is this question that you need me to clear up for you? Once we do that, we have to assure them that they're heard and they're seen. And they get that from our responses. Anyone can tell you what a problem is, but did you hear what they actually told you? Repeat it to them to let them know, yes, I did hear. Then tell them your act of positive movement to fix it. A lot of times people will say things and it falls on deaf ears and no action is taken whatsoever. That's the issue. You have to act on the issue or the problem to resolve it in order to have a beneficial transaction that at the end of the day, the family's happy and you're happy because you gave them service. Some real life examples of some exceptional service would be a family calls you at the last minute, they forgot something, they need you to get it for them, an organist that is. In your mind, you may think, okay, they knew 4 days ago, but guess what? They forgot. Don't get angry. It's not the first time that that's happened. Politely say, yes, ma'am, we'll take care of it. And you go through your Rolodex and you call a couple of the organists that you know, and I'm sure one wants to come. I mean, it's that simple. A lot of times in today's society, people don't want to hear things. They just want to react to them. But in funeral service, you have to listen with an empathetic, compassionate ear, willing to help. Because as you help people through this situation, it helps the grief to go away a little quicker. Now I'm going to dispel a few myths and misconceptions, breaking stereotypes about funeral homes. Funeral homes are in it first for the money. That is a lie. Lie. We're in it, number one, because it's a purpose God gave us. And when we opened our doors, it was here to fulfill God's wishes of serving a community. That's how we all start. Then it becomes a business. As we begin to run that business, we have to learn balance. Because if you run one way too far, one way, the other, you're going to fall off the boat. So to say we're in it for the money, there's no way. Because we could charge a lot more than we do, because a lot of our colleagues of other ethnicities charge 2 and 3 times what we charge. Our demographic won't allow us to do that, because as Mama used to say, you can't get blood from a turnip. If you're in an economically depressed area, how can you make people reach higher than they can and the service totally unaffordable? Then that pushes you into just direct cremation. So we have to find a happy medium in which we can give you service with dignity, with respect, yet keep our doors open as well. As I said, to explain the cost, everything that we purchase to serve you costs us astronomical amounts of money. I'll give you one, a case of embalming fluid. When I started, you get a case of fluid for $45, $50. A case of embalming fluid that I use now, $160 a case. 24 bottle comes per case, yeah. How many do you use per body? We can get into that another episode. Embalming, I told you that's my first love right there. But all of these things have cost that we must pass on in order to keep our doors open and our businesses running. Why running a business ensures long-term care for business. Why? Because if we don't think of it through the generations, how will we be here to serve you? We can't just think about today. We have to plan strategically and financially, not only for today, but for what's to come. Next Monday, we're going to inaugurate a new president. Well, a new president again. The economy is going to do something. What? None of us know. Is it going to tank or is it going to thrive? We don't know. But we as business people better prepare for it. Because no matter what happens, once the president comes in and things start happening, we have to be here to operate. So, it's all about planning, strategic marketing. Some closing reflections here. Remember, we have a dual mission. We're here to give you compassion and to show it along with empathy, but also professionalism. We are licensed by the state of Virginia. We have certain things we must do, we must uphold to, and we cannot drop professionalism, and we cannot do anything that's against the law. Funeral service, I'm going to say it's both a calling and a business, because the average person would not want this job. I'm going to be real with you. Just a fact off to the side. Out of all of the occupations in America that every adult has, funeral service professionals make up only 2% of the American working population. 2%. Yeah, we're rare, very rare. We'll talk about that one day as well. The hours that we keep, you wouldn't understand it. The things that we do and sacrifice in order to be there for the grieving families that call us. I'm going to give gratitude for the trust placed in this vital profession. Every person out here that works in this industry with me, thank you. I'm grateful for you. I don't know if you grind as hard as I do, the way I was taught to grind, but you grind. We're grateful that you grind. Funeral service is not getting bigger every year. Every year this industry gets smaller. When I graduated, I came out of mortuary school in 92. There were about 34 of us gentlemen that graduated. Maybe 3 ladies were gentlemen. I look at the classes now. It may be 6, 8 people graduate. I don't know where the industry is going to be in 20 years. I don't know. I want you to rethink the role of funeral homes in your community. As you ride by, as you walk by, think about some of the things we talked about. How do you feel when you're in there? Do you get that warmth? Do you get that feel of satisfaction? Know that we're here. Always will be. Following the legacy of Mr. Joe B. Franklin of 1947. It's 2025. M.E. Fisher sitting right here in the same building. Making it happen. Thank you for tuning in today. This is Mark Fisher from the M.E. Fisher Funeral Home. Episode 14, done. Thank you. We love you. We're here for you. Peace.